If you want to be able to do these things, you're going to be able to do that choux pastry first. So this recipe is ready for the purists. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe, change the notification bell setting, and give me a big like. So measure all your ingredients properly with the digital scales. It does help. In a saucepan, put your water, salt, sugar, and cubed or diced butter. You can find this full recipe with photos at cookingwithfrenchy.com and all ingredients and measurement. It's so important to cut the butter into cubes and let it melt slowly at first before we bring it to boiling stage. We don't want the water to evaporate too much before the butter is melted. Meanwhile, don't waste your time. Make sure you sieve your strong flour into a bowl. Give a bit of a stir to your liquid as it's getting warmer. It helps the butter melting faster. Once you're done, bring that to boiling point, and that's mean big boiling motion, and halve the heat or reduce the heat. Add the flour, mix quickly with a wooden spoon. Stay on the heat as it happens. Mix faster and beat that pastry. From now on, you count 30 seconds and you beat it hard over the heat. It's very important. The professional call that the drying out process, and it really helps with your pastry. You're just gonna give it a little bit of a shake. So be hard on it, be strong. I call it a bit of anger management at this moment. And really go for it. You shake it. If it doesn't stick to the pan and gets together, it's ready. That's it. No point to go any further. Transfer to the bowl and cool it down below 60 degrees. Very important, as we don't want to cook the eggs. So over the years and after many tries and watching a different professional, I found that really blending or mixing your eggs really help to have a smoother pastry result in the end. So I'm using a jug. Crack your eggs into it, and I'm gonna use a hand blender or mixer and give it a good blitz for 10-15 seconds just to make sure it's nice and smooth, so it's not chalazi left over, and we have a good mix between the egg yolk and the egg white. And here's a tip for you. If you never work onto a piping choux pastry, the best way is to actually grease a tray, take a piece of silicone paper that is the same size of your tray, and draw some lines onto the paper. My lines are about 10 to 12 centimeters. They really look like a French eclair from Paris. And don't forget to turn the paper upside down, as you don't want the marker to be on your choux pastry once baked. So you can do this. If you're not otherwise, if you're very confident with your skills, you can just grease the tray, get a bit of absorbent paper, and remove the excess of fat. Now during all that time, our choux pastry has cooled down, and you can add the eggs with a spatula and then just mix it together just like this. And you will see it at times it looks like it kind of splits, so that's why we use eggs a little by little. So I generally go a quarter of my eggs, mix, quarter of my eggs, mix, quarter of my eggs, mix, until I reach a really smooth product. So that's little tips and techniques. That's how pastry chefs make that pastry so easy. It's not difficult, but it's just few little details that will help you when you do so. So if your choux pastry looks a little bit rough, keep mixing. You could do that in a bowl mixer with a paddle attachment. There's no issue or problem about that. It works as well. So you keep mixing, keep adding your eggs a little at a time. And a good indication that you're doing well, it's you should add all your eggs, really. And it shouldn't be too runny or too liquid. If, let's say, halfway that process you still have half of your eggs and it's runny, there's a mistake already in your measurement. So at the end, your pastry should be breaking down like this, like a V shape. As it is, should be shiny, smooth, and it should be working. So I'm using a disposal piping bag with a star nozzle. Why the star nozzle? It seems from experience and trial that the star nozzle actually avoid or doesn't break your pastry too much when it bakes, so it doesn't have big cracks. So I push the piping bag inside the star nozzle like this. My choux pastry goes nowhere, and I'm using a jug as a support, so I don't struggle too much filling up my bag. That's another tip that you can use. Once I've done, I'm gonna pipe the choux pastry today as an eclair in this recipe. So I make sure it's tight. I'm trying to avoid air bubble. Not always possible, but you can only try. And here I'm going to tie up the piping bag, make sure it's quite tight. As you see, the choux pastry start to come out. One hand I press, the other hand I direct. I'm going to pipe straight pressure and go backward, and then I stop and I go back up. So I follow the line, pipe straight down, stop and back up. That's how you break it. Don't forget, when you finish the line, to stop and go a little bit back up. This is really how you're gonna get a very nice little eclair. When I say little, they're not that little. That's the size you will find in Paris, as I mentioned earlier. So you see, drop, 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 drop. You don't need to speed it up. It's all about understanding the pressure you put down as well as pulling down backward. Now, my best tip for you is to actually try that on your bench. Do that on the clean bench first and see how you go. Once you've done 2 or 3 and you're happy with the size, just go on the tray. Here what I'm doing is actually putting a little bit of a spray on the choux pastry. It seems that it avoids cracking as well, like totally exploding. I cook my choux pastry at about 200 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes and 160, 170 degrees for another 10-15 minutes to dry out. And there you are, your eclair size are ready. Not a big crack, just nice golden and hollow inside. Thank you for watching and see you next time.